Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mind, Your Reality, Your Results, a weekly live show where I speak with an expert in the subject of mindset so you can change your mindset and get the amazing results that you want in your life. I'm so excited to be welcoming Mostafa Hosseini to the show today. Welcome.
Thanks, Leah. Great to be here.
Well, you guys are going to love this. I'm very excited. I should introduce myself if we haven't met before. My name is Leah Fink. I'm the owner of All Thrive, and I give people the skills they need to have amazing personal and professional relationships. If you'd like to connect, I would love that. And you can go to meetleah.ca to do so. But you are not just here for my expertise today. You are here to learn about what Mostafa is going to share with us. So please feel free to engage, comment, ask your questions. Even if you're watching this and we're no longer live, if you put those questions in there, we can make sure to get back to you. So, Mostafa, as I like to start the show, I would love to hear a little bit about how you became a retention expert.
For sure. So I went to school for marketing at Mount Royal University, and I started a marketing agency while I was in school. And we did digital marketing, complete A to Z digital services from 2010 to 2018. And so I learned I learned and I heard about Dan Kennedy. Are you familiar with Dan Kennedy, the marketing guy?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. So I heard about the power of retention and follow up. And so the story is that every time in my agency days, I ran out of cash or customers and leads and whatnot,
Yeah.
I would worry about it for a few days and I would pull my hair out because I had a deadline, or maybe I had to pay my guys, or whatever reason. Then I would remember and realize that I have a list of prospects and customers. And so what I would do is we would pick up the phone, make around the friendly calls to the list. And on the day of and shortly after, we would get cash, appointments, introductions, referrals, you name it. And so 2018 or so, I started teaching simple marketing formula. And so we started teaching the cream of the crop and the 80-20 of marketing in that course, and what actually was working for us and for our clients in simple marketing formula. And I was helping people create a simple marketing plan. Now, the last module in simple marketing formula was always the retention process, customer retention. So I'd be like, gang, here's the script, here's the process. Use the script that we use and we get results from to call your list, have a very friendly conversation, to book appointments, get cash and referrals and whatnot. And nobody would do it. And I'm like, guys, these are your customers. These are people on your list. And it's not like cold calling random people, but they still wouldn't do it. So then later on, we had a guy who was making calls for us. And what happened was he was looking for more work. So a few times during the course at Simple Marketing Formula, I asked people if they wanted an introduction to a guy who could make calls for them. Gotcha. And they're like, yep, introduce us. We want it. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Everybody raised their hand. What if we do this for you? And what if we manage this for you? And would you like us to do that? They're like, yeah, brother, sign us up. Call my list and get me appointments and referrals. So it took me a while to think it through. And then what we did is we ended up starting a call center specializing in follow-ups and customer retention. And so the biggest problem that we solve is the fact that most people and businesses spend a lot of time and money to find leads and customers, and while they're totally ignoring their existing list of customers and prospects. And they're out there finding for new people while ignoring their people. The second problem that we solve is that some of these people, they know they should stay in touch with their list, but they don't have the time, the manpower, and the resources to do it. And to my surprise, because I do it naturally, most people just hate to pick up the phone and have conversations. So we're like, you know what? We love it, so we'll do it for you, and we will fix your follow-up problem. So that's the long response to your simple question.
No, it's a great response. And what I particularly like, because the show is about mindset, is there is a mindset. There's so much messaging around. You need to go out, you need to do the work to get new clients. People talk about phone calls in that capacity of you need to do maybe some cold calling and meeting people that way. and instead to focus on this piece of the customers you have. And, personally, that's great for me because I'm all about relationships. And that's really what that is. It's building and maintaining relationship. And I'm curious because you're talking specifically about phone calls in this case. And I suspect that a lot of people, once they have a client, have put them onto an email list.
Yep.
Do you find that people are doing that kind of follow up or not? And just what's the difference for you?
So most people, if you go back to the 80-20 principle, 80% of businesses don't do any follow-up at all, right? Or
Wow.
they do a poor job. Some people, the majority of the people that do follow up do some form of email follow-up, right? And then very few people actually do phone follow-ups and stay in touch with their list consistently.
Yeah.
And in this digital day and age, the human touch, the real human conversation is missing. And everybody's on apps and websites and here and there, and they're not having real human conversations. And that's what we decided to add to the mix and fix that problem.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. I think there's very few people that would say that an email is the same kind of connection as a phone call. And have you heard a consistent thing from people? Because I have some guesses, but about why a phone call to an existing customer who already invested in you and obviously cares enough about your business is so scary.
Yeah, there's some myth and misconceptions around it. And
Yeah.
so the number one thing that I hear from people is they say, I don't want to bother my customers. Have you heard
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. I don't want to bother my customers, or I don't want to bother this lead that just opted in to download something.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that you're not bothering them. I mean, there's a fine line between bothering them and nurturing them and taking care of them. Let's imagine that somebody opted in to download a lead magnet about mindset on your website, and
Yeah.
they raised their hand. They did a search on Google or found you some way. They became vulnerable, reached out, downloaded your lead magnet, and raised their hand and said, "I need help with mindset." Right. So if you sit back and be like, "Oh, I don't want to bother these people. I'm just going to let them do what they want to do," you would actually be hurting them by not following up and reaching out to help that person, right? I always say, if you go to a doctor and say, "Doctor, my shoulder hurts, I broke my shoulder," they're not going to sit back and say, "I don't want to bother this guy by fixing his shoulder." The doctor would come up usually
Yeah.
and fix your shoulder. And so it's the same thing about services and products. If someone comes in and they need help with an issue or a problem or a challenge that they have, it's on us as business owners to follow up and help them fix that problem through our product or service. So that's one thing. The second thing that I hear all the time is people say, "I don't want to be salesy," or "I don't want to be appear or be seen as salesy."
Yeah.
And to which my response is, then don't be salesy, right? Right. So our approach is we do a very friendly and nurturing follow-up with people, either via email, text message, or phone call, just to confirm, just to reach out and say, "Hey, seems like you downloaded our checklist about fixing your mindset. Does that ring a bell?" They say yay or nay. And if you do it, if it was recent enough, they would remember that they have downloaded something,
Yeah.
right? Unless it was a spam, which is a different story. But then you would all follow up, say, "Hey, is this a problem? What is the biggest issue? Would you like to fix this problem? What's going to happen if you don't fix it?" And then you would work on booking an appointment and then maybe getting a referral from them. So those are the two big things that I hear from people all the time. One is they say, "I don't want to bother them." Then they say, "I don't want to be salesy." And then another one, here's the third one. They say, "They'll reach out to me when they need me."
Mm.
And I'm like, dude, they did reach out to you.
Yeah.
What else? Do you want them to beg you?
Yeah.
Right? So they reached out. Now it's your job to stay in touch and help them.
Oh, I love that. And you're hitting on, I think, a bigger piece even, and one of the foundational challenges with entrepreneurship is that confidence in your product, your service, that people are seeking you out and that you can help them. And that core belief, if it's a little shaky, I could see how easy it would be to say, oh no, I'm bothering them, instead of what an opportunity to serve this person and help them get past whatever their challenges are or improve their life, whatever that looks like. So just that core idea of any sort of reach out doesn't have to be salesy. It can be about creating relationship and helping people, which is why we're all in the business to begin with.
Absolutely. Would it be okay if I share my sales philosophy that helps
Please.
with
Yeah, that'd be
mindset?
great.
So speaking of mindset, here's my sales philosophy. And you could probably run a version of this for yourself if you're watching or listening. And that is, I believe in my product so much so that I have no problem, no hesitation, no blockages about selling it because it fixes an actual problem that people have.
Yeah.
Right? I'm proud of it. I'll stop at nothing. Even if people call me salesy, I'm okay with that. Right? You could call me anything you want. I'm here to actually fix a problem. And I believe in my product. And if someone shows up and says, Mostafa, I have a follow-up problem, I'm like, let me fix that problem for you. And here's maybe the next piece to that. And that is, sometimes you need to help your customers to get themselves out of the way so you actually can help them. Talking about mindset. So if you believe in your product, if you believe in what you do and what you have, then you wouldn't have a problem selling it. Right. So here's a mindset piece about follow-up. And that is, again, you believe in your product so much so that you will follow up with your customers until they are ready to buy. Right. Because there's that buying cycle. Only about 1 to 3% of your market is ready to buy now.
Of
The
course.
rest of them will buy within, please hear this, 18 months of the first point of contact. So it's on you to be persistent and consistent and stay in touch with your people and all the people that opt in so that you have the opportunity to help them and help them fix their problem.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I have one of my sales mentors who's been on the show before talking about sales objections in a very similar way, because people take them this very personal way, like you talked about. And it's sometimes people do get in their own way. They're scared, like you've talked about earlier, they're in a vulnerable position. Anyone asking,
Absolutely.
reaching out and asking for help from an expert is in a very vulnerable position, and they worry about feeling judged or that someone will see them differently. So I'm 100% with you on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. People, uh, we got to understand and understand people and where they're at. Right.
Yeah.
They have and so sometimes people are like, oh, this guy came in and they didn't buy. And so we have to be mindful of people and what's going on in their life, and maybe they have problems, they have other things to do. And if you work with business owners, they have a million other things to do and worry about. So give them a chance and be there and take care of them until they're ready to do business with you.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I want to make sure we get to, because I know you have some great points as well, and I feel we could probably rabbit hole down here forever. But I'm curious, when you do this reach out, because I know you have a very relational, caring approach, is what do you say when you call people? Like if people are a little bit nervous, having kind of a script for that is what I'm assuming you have.
Yes, we do have a script. We create a script and we follow the script. And so the script is a very friendly and nurturing conversation every single time. So let's say that you have downloaded my checklist that we're going to share here later on. The checklist is simple retention formula. Then what would happen is I would call and say, hi, can I speak to Leah? And Leah would say, hi, yeah, Leah, it's Leah. Then I'd be like, hi, Leah, it's Mostafa from XYZ. Did I catch you at a bad time?
Yeah.
And if it's a bad time, you'll let me know. If it's not a bad time, then we'll have a quick conversation. Look, our system shows you downloaded this checklist. Does that ring a bell? And you would, if you did, then you would say, yeah, I did. And I'm just curious. The next question is, I'm just curious, what was the problem that you were trying to solve by
Mhm.
downloading this checklist?
Yeah.
Because I want to understand what the challenge is.
Yeah.
And then I would say and get into. Then you would tell me, here's the problem, and I would say, is how big or how bad is this problem? I'm
Mhm.
sorry, my connection is constantly going on and off.
You're sounding good over here.
Okay. Then I would say, is this a big problem? Is this a pressing issue?
Yeah.
And how soon do you want to fix this problem? Then you would tell me how that is.
Yeah.
And if it's something you want to fix or you want to have a chat about, I would say, would you be against having a conversation with our team to
Yeah.
see what we could do and how we possibly could help? Notice I didn't say, do you want to have a chat with our team? I said, would you be against a conversation?
Yeah.
And so I learned this from Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator, in his book Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
And you would what we do is we ask no oriented questions. Is this a bad time to chat? Instead of, is this a good time to chat? Is this a bad time? No, it's not a bad time. Would you be against a conversation with our team? Well, I'm not against it. Let's have a conversation. And then
Totally.
it's easier to get conversions with no oriented questions. And then we work on booking a call. And then here's a piece that we always have on our checklist, and that is asking for a referral.
Yeah.
And so whether you are ready to do business with us and transact with us or not, we always ask, Leah, I'm just curious, who do you know that is having a follow-up problem in their business and they're leaving money on the table around you?
Yeah.
And then we always ask for a referral. Now, whether you give me a referral or not, I'm fine, but we always ask. And when you ask that question
Yeah.
repeatedly on your checklist every single time, you're guaranteed to get referrals.
Yeah. Oh, I love so many parts of that the no oriented question is great because people like saying no. That's part of that salesy thing. They kind of want to have the autonomy or the right to say no, which is wonderful. And the piece about referrals is interesting because once again, people don't ask about them. And to me, that's part of the original process when you start working with someone is pre-ask them like, yeah, when you're really happy with what I've done, I would love to check in with you partway through or at the end and that you'll give me a referral. And even like you're saying before working with them, right from the beginning of when you've contacted, because you're saying, I'm solving a problem. Even if you don't want it, you probably know someone who does need this. So that's just fantastic.
Absolutely. They're small things and they're very simple and easy, and it makes a huge difference in your business.
Yeah. And so when you've done these follow-up calls and people have responded and they said, yes, I'm open to talking, they answer some questions. If there's someone, is there a different way that you're taking them? Basically, if it's someone that just signed up for the first time from your downloadable, I'm assuming towards a client who already existed and you're now following up with them. What's the difference there?
That's a great question. So each segment of the list has a different script depending on what's going on and who we are calling. Like the script would be different for the person that just downloaded the checklist compared to a person that just signed up for a webinar. We have a script for pre-webinar confirmation calls, post-webinar confirmation calls, and work on booking appointments. Same thing with events, existing customers, past customers, partners. All of these different segments have their own scripts.
Wow. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of pre-webinar calls before. And now I'm thinking of it, and it is brilliant because people have signed up, like you said, saying, I have this problem. And is that kind of a discovery type call then that you're asking what they're hoping to be solved with the webinar?
Yeah, yes, and yes. So before webinars, we do confirmation calls to remind them that yes, you have signed up, and we really look forward to seeing you. If they want to book an appointment with our team, if that's the case, if that's the intention, we would work on that even prior to the webinar. And we just remind them that we really care about you. And gang, if you're watching and you're listening, you'd be surprised how often people thank us for that simple phone call. Because
Yeah.
here's a fact: nobody does it. And that's a quick and simple and easy way for you to stand out from your competition, is by picking up the phone and having a quick conversation. Like, can I share another tip about people that
Please.
run workshops? So when I run workshops, sometimes either me or my team, we pick up the phone and call the people to do confirmation calls and reminders. And when we do that, quite often people are like, oh my God, nobody ever has called me, especially the person that is running the workshop, the instructor or the expert has never called me to confirm and say, we're looking forward to meeting you. And that one simple call that is probably going to take a minute will increase your show up rates anyway. And that's a quick way, again, to differentiate from the rest of the pack and show that you care and add that human touch and the human element into your marketing mix.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love the idea. And I'm really curious, for you being obviously in a very phone centered role, with the amount of people that we all get those horrible spam calls all the time,
Yep.
constantly, your package and, you're about to be detained by the police. How has that affected you? Like, do you find that people don't answer the call and you're leaving a lot of messages, or do you repeat call? How do you handle that?
So first couple times that we call, we don't leave messages. We leave messages on probably the third or past that attempt, so that we can call them back. We get between a 15 to 20% answering rate, depending on the day and the time. And sometimes people, when they pick up the phone, they're like, what do you want? And we're like, hi, my name is Mo. I work with Leah. Did I catch you at a bad time? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were a spam call. And so we just handle the call, again, with a nice, friendly conversation. And I honestly have not had a bad experience, people being mean or anything, because we're calling to help. And the intention and the energy behind it is to help people. So
yeah, no, that's a great mindset, and that's good to hear that you are still able to get through to a good percentage of people, because I know multiple people now, like I said, that have said, I don't answer calls I don't know. I will not talk to anyone who's not on my list. So it's
So to fix that problem, what we do is we also, in our system, allows us to send them emails. So sometimes, depending on the day and the process that we follow, if they don't answer the call, we send them an email immediately and say, hey, I've called you a couple of times and I've been getting your voicemail. Is this the right number? And they email back and say, sometimes they say, oh, I didn't know it was you. Yes, let's have a conversation. And we would have probably a booking link in our email so they could actually go ahead and book a call. So there are ways around it. We could also actually text them as well. If they don't answer, it's like, hey, it's me from XYZ company. I was just calling, following up on your download, and the rest of it. So there are ways around it.
Great. And I'm wondering, with all of this, because there is follow-up, and we know follow-up or any reach out takes time. Roughly, what would you say is kind of the time you want to invest per person when you do get that first reach out? Is there kind of a generalized amount that you end up doing
in terms of the reach outs?
Yeah, for when you're, so person A signs up for a webinar, does the downloadable, how much time are you kind of investing to get them to that next step of attending the webinar or booking an appointment or whatever that is?
So before the webinar, we would do confirmation calls. Now, after a webinar, we have three groups of people. We have the buyers, the non-buyers, and the no-shows.
Yes.
So we do confirmation calls to all three groups. The buyers, we call them in and welcome them. And please hear this, we ask them for a referral.
Of course.
The first best time to ask for a referral is when they just made a purchase. Because they just trusted you, they gave you their money, and they swiped their credit card. And now you ask them, well, who else do you know that may be having the same issue that we could help? And then, so that's the first group we called. Then we called the non-buyers and say, hey, what's going on? Why didn't you buy? Would you like to talk to our team? And then see where they're at and have a conversation. Then we call the no-shows to the webinars and events. Seems like you missed the webinar or the event. What's going on with you? Would you like to attend the next webinar we're running? or would you like to book a call to just have a call with our to have a call with our team and see if we can help you? Because we notice actually we get a better quality of people in the
Yeah.
no-show list compared to the non-buyers. And mostly, not
Interesting.
all the time, but sometimes they're good qualified people that are busy and they didn't get time to show up on the webinar.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to show up, but I'm busy with work. To which we say, well, would you like to just have a conversation with our team and see how we can help after qualifying them? And so those are some examples of what we do.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm wondering with that as well, are there other things, I guess, that you're using to pre-qualify, or other ways that you're kind of sorting through that? Like, is every call potentially a good call with the way you're approaching it?
So the way we approach it, either the person in front of us is a customer,
Yeah.
or maybe they know someone that could be a customer. Or the third way we think about it is maybe they're not the right a potential customer for us now, but maybe in the future they're going to be our customer and we don't know. So what we do is we call the entire list every 3 or 4 months with, again, a very friendly approach and say, hey, it's me. What's going on? Where are you at? Do you need help? And another thing on the list is, who do you know that may be having issues? So when you ask that question a few times and with that friendly approach, you are educating your list to think of you and to give you referrals when the occasion arises.
Yeah.
And then so that's what we do.
Well, that was the answer I was hoping for, to be honest, is to not pre-qualify away from contacting someone. Because I think that's also a common thing that people say, is they'd say, oh, well, they didn't buy, so why bother contacting them? Or they didn't show, so why bother contacting them? So I love this idea of, you never know. You never know
You
who
never
that
know.
person knows. You never know what they might need in the future. So that's just
Yeah, maybe.
wonderful.
Absolutely. Maybe they want to do it, but they're waiting for their paycheck.
Yeah.
And they're like, look, I can't buy it right now, but I could buy it in 2 weeks. Or maybe call me back in 2 or 3 months, then I will buy.
Yeah.
So people leave multiple 6, 7, or 8 figures on the table by not following up. Because they just make all these assumptions that, oh, if they wanted to buy, they would have bought by now. And so sometimes we need the relationship to help people make a purchase. And so I can't expect someone to show up on a webinar and within 10 minutes, open their wallets and give me thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And some people do. I mean, there are webinars that convert between 10 to 50%.
Yeah.
Right. But then the people that don't buy, maybe we need to stay in touch with them and build that relationship. Oh, that's a beautiful cat.
Yeah.
And take care of them.
No,
I think some people call it relationship marketing.
Yeah. And that's, to me, all marketing is relationship based. That's a huge part of it, is building that. Because you're right, people, they need to trust you. And how do you build trust when you don't have that connection? So
Absolutely.
You mentioned it earlier. I would really love for you to share that you have a bit of a gift for people today.
Yeah, I'm sharing the checklist to simple retention formula. This is the step-by-step process that we use to improve our customer retention rates, fix our follow-up problem, get referrals, and increase profitability. So if you go to the link in the comments or the descriptions of the show, it will be there.
Amazing.
And another thing is my upcoming book, Simple Retention Formula, as a book is coming up. Once you download and opt in to get the checklist, you will get a copy of my book as well.
That's amazing. I really hope that people do reach out and take advantage of this. If anyone listened to this or watched it and didn't think to themselves, wow, I might be losing a lot of money by not doing this, they might have missed the point. It's really critical stuff that you've shared. And just thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, very much my pleasure. And thank you to everyone watching and listening. I hope you have a great week. And remember, every thought counts.